Hi everybody, welcome to our NeuroDigest show here on Andy Speaks for Special Needs Persons. And we would like to welcome you all to enjoy this show as we continue with our usual. Today we are honored to be discussing online security, all matters online. We all know that everything is going digital. Our children also with the COVID-19 situation are also requiring to go digital and learn online. These are things that were not so common, but then now it is the new normal and we have to adjust to the adjusting time. I am your host, Sylvia Moraa Mochabo, founder of Andy Speaks for Special Needs Persons. We have our sign language interpreter, Maida Mori Karaoke, who will always be here to ensure that even those who are hard of hearing can learn something from this, because it is always cutting across board. And here at Andy Speaks and the Special Needs Hangout, we're here to support you, equip you, and ensure that you have every information that you need to be able to support your child and also be the best and help them to be the best version of who they can be. So today I'm excited to be hosting a good friend of mine called EVELYN KASINA. Hi, EVELYN.
Hi.
Please introduce yourself, and then now we can just dive right into it and go into it. Now that we are in this digital space, we have to even adjust our own meetings and hangouts and all these things to the digital space, right? But we have to ensure life goes on. But then also at the same time, we have to ensure that our children are safe, because we know it is a space that sprawls with so many different people from all different angles. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Sylvia, for just having me here first and foremost. Saturday, I looked outside and it was so gloomy. So I hope everybody is going to be here to learn. And I'm excited to be just taking you through this session. One of the things I've realized that whether you like it or not, our children are online. And one of the things, especially for parents, is to ensure that as our children are enjoying technology and the online space, they're safe. As they're doing what they're doing, they're safe. And it is important also to ensure that technology is for all. And one of the things that I personally advocate for is to make sure that children who have any special ability, they are part of this digital world, because they're children just like any other child, and they need to be exposed and they need to enjoy. And we have realized even over time that children with special abilities are actually very, very bright. If they're given an opportunity, they thrive. So as parents, we need to be able to just open our minds and let our children take over this space. Of course, it has to be guided just the same way we guide all children who are using technology. We have to guide them and also see that their talents and their interests are being met and they're able to thrive and enjoy technology like everybody else. So I hope during this training, you're going to learn something, you're going to have a change of mindset, and you're going to enjoy, and tell your friends to plug in and watch this and always be a part of Andy Speaks, because we are changing how people think and how people engage with special needs children. So thank you so much, and I think we can begin. Sylvia, right?
Yes, we can begin. Ready when you are. And one thing I have to say that I love is the way that you take over the autistic kids and teach them how to use technology in your other program. I believe you'll touch on it, so that there is a parent out there who's always feeling like, what can my child do? What can mold, how far can they go? And I'm sure this is part of what you'll be talking to us about. So we'll be really looking forward to that. So if you have a presentation, the floor is yours, and then we will move from there.
So one of the things that I just want us to have today is to leave this place with a change of mindset, in the sense that we need to be able to appreciate the space we are in, and we need to be able to appreciate our role as parents in what we are doing in the children's lives. And the topic that I've been sharing a lot is parenting and the internet, which is what we are doing at this particular time. We are parenting children in the fourth industrial revolution. So whether you're a parent, whether you're a guardian, whether you're a teacher, which means you're an educator, this is a platform for you to learn on the things that you can do to ensure that the space your children are in first is safe and it is conducive for them. And as we are thinking about this, because I say children with or without special needs. They're children, they're a blessing, and they're all unique. We need to be able to just see how we can relate with them. And special needs children are not lazy, they're not naughty, and they're not dumb. Yeah. So whether you're a parent, whether they are special. I think there's feedback. Sylvia, there's some feedback, I think, from one of the devices.
Sorry, sorted.
Okay. So there's a quote that I saw from Tala that says, special needs children are not lazy, they're not naughty and dumb. There are special ways of teaching them. And I would think that there are special ways of teaching each and every one of us, because we accept knowledge, we retain knowledge and content in very many different and unique ways. So as a parent, I would just want you to ask yourself, what do your children actually do when they're online? So just think about it. And if you have a pen and paper, please start writing. And please note, if you do not know, that's a perfectly good answer. That's why you're here, to start learning what your children actually do online. And as you're thinking around this question, try and evaluate just the last 6 months, 6 to 7 months we have been on a lockdown, a mandatory lockdown, and how you have been able to introduce technology to your children. One, because probably they're in school and they need to do learning online, or they're socializing, because that is also another way we are using technology. So do you actually know what your children are doing when they're on the online space? Try and evaluate. If you don't know, it's okay. There is no right and wrong answer, but we are all here to learn. And so one of the things that I've realized of interacting and also looking at a survey that was done a while back is that quite a number of children are chatting with their friends online. And if you look at the last 6 months, we have been using technology literally for socialization, because of the pandemic, we're not able to have physical meetings as we pleased. And so we have to look for innovative ways to keep in touch with our family and our friends. So we are chatting a lot with our friends and our family. So that's one way we are using the internet. And another way we are using it is for entertainment. So we will watch different clips from the Netflix, from the Showmax, from YouTube. Very many platforms are giving us an opportunity to watch clips. And then because children are children, they are also spending a lot of their time online playing games. Sometimes they're playing games with their friends, but sometimes they could be playing games with strangers. And so as a parent, as a guardian, you need to be able to start analyzing and trying to see who is playing with your child, who has access to them when they're gaming, and try and find out what kind of games are they interacting with. So that is an assignment that I keep telling parents, you must do. Whether you like it or not, those are things that you must get involved in, because it is your job. And so even as we go through this, I love asking parents, what are your biggest concerns? What are the biggest concerns you face in keeping your children online? And I have gotten quite a number of feedback from different people who, most of them, will keep sharing around mature content. And I know as a parent, I wouldn't want my children to watch any mature content. So this is some of the feedback that we have received, but I would like to invite you at this particular moment. If you're watching us on Facebook, please share with us. Sylvia will be giving us this feedback even as we proceed to see what your challenges are, and we want to know how we can help you mitigate those challenges. And so one of the things that I want to assure you as a parent, as a trainer, as an educator, is that you're not alone, because my fears are your fears. And a number of parents have given us their views, and allow me to just share a few. There are parents who says parents need to be involved, engaged, and educated. And the fact that you have taken time out of your Saturday afternoon to be here, you're involved, you're getting engaged, and you're getting educated so that you can help your children. Many children are more tech savvy than I am. I think that stands out for every one of us. Most of our children actually are more tech savvy, because the way they interact and the way they start looking at different softwares, it is way more than we do. And then, of course, safety is paramount for very many parents. I'm concerned with what they would get up to when I'm not monitoring them. But then again, do you want to be the parent who is always monitoring everything that your children are doing? Because that is also a full-time job. So how can we equip them so that they can have reasonable independence when they're online? That is something that we shall learn as we proceed with this. And then, of course, we are in the era of technology, and kids don't play outside anymore. And I know as we are raising children with different special needs, we need to also have them play outside with guardianship. And so even as we look at the current pandemic we have, it's a health pandemic. We don't want our children to go out there and then get exposed to the coronavirus. So they will be at home engaging themselves in using gadgets for one reason or the other. And then, of course, there are people online who pretend to be anybody. And I think this really happens a lot with gaming and social media, where you find your children are playing with someone, but they really don't know the person on the other end, who they are, what their age is, what their intentions are. And people start pretending to be who they are not to our children who are very vulnerable, and they can start being groomed online to do things that are not healthy and appropriate. And then, of course, the last person said, I don't want them to stumble across anything that they should not be stumbling across. And this is really about content. There are several things that, of course, are general for many parents, unhealthy content, children being radicalized online. But there are very many things that our children can stumble across online that are not aligning with our values, that we feel like it's not content that our children should be exposed to. And so when we don't have these conversations with ourselves and we don't have the conversations with our children, then they stand a chance to get access to things that we might not want them to stumble across online. But that said and done, technology is an amazing force of good. It's really, really an amazing force of good. And this is why right now we are still in a global pandemic, but Sylvia has been able to transform these workshops into the online space, which means she's even able to meet more people than if she was holding a physical meeting, because of time, because of locality, because of accessibility. But because even on your smartphone, you're able to connect into this session, technology has made this possible. And so many people use the internet for various different reasons. We use it for research. Our children are using it for school and their homework. And we also get an opportunity to work. We get an opportunity to have, to do research, to do our studies. And also, we have an opportunity to start looking at how we can start creating content. And within that space, I just want you to think about the amazing opportunities that platforms like TikTok and Instagram have produced, where people within a very short time are able to communicate via small videos. They're able to entertain, they're able to educate. And so we are finding it more and more because our children are into more video. They're able to create content and upload their content online, share their talents. And this is what we really want. We need parents to start allowing their children to share who they are, to expose their talents so that things can happen for them that are beyond our control in terms of the physical issues that we might be having at this particular time. And so when we are having these discussions, definitely there are certain things that as a parent you need to be able to set across. And let us start by talking about ground rules. Ground rules, I know, happen every time. We have ground rules online and we have ground rules offline. And so one of the things I keep insisting is that we need to be able to have our children understand exactly what it means when we set certain ground rules. And so here we are going to learn we are going to start learning on what kind of ground rules we can put and how they relate with our children. But even as we are doing that, what kind of ground rules have you already set for your family in terms of the online space? If you have any, please feel free to share those with us, because we would love to learn from you as well, and also to see if some of the ground rules that you have set can also be applicable on our side. So one of the things that I have done, I have established boundaries across screen time. And with that, I would just like to share one of the things that I do in terms of selecting those boundaries and letting my children know that there are certain things we can do and certain things that we can't do. And this one cuts across, whether you have children with special needs or not. We need to have ground rules established for everybody, even ourselves. And then, of course, we have to create family rules over what we share. We also, as parents, we also need to keep checking on what we share and how the content that we are putting out there culminates to our digital footprint, and how it also affects our children. Because sometimes we share content about our children, but it might not be what they desire, and it might be something that may not really build up positively towards their digital footprint. And then, of course, we need to establish family values. The values that you still uphold on offline should be what is being transmitted online. But then again, I keep finding parents who have family values in their heads, but they've not had a chance to speak to their children around what they believe in, who they are, and why that is important. So I hope also through this conversation, we shall be able to see how we can set these different things. And so what is the importance of having balancing screen time? Of course, we have the positive and we also have the negative, because every time you're having a conversation with your children, please balance the conversation in terms of the positivity and the negativity, so that they don't start feeling that every time you're talking about technology, it's always the negative things. Always show them also the positive impacts about them engaging technology. And of course, showing them that they can learn despite the fact that they can't go to their physical schools, that's a positive impact. The fact that they can still connect with their family and their friends via video conferencing in different platforms, that is definitely a huge plus for them as well. So we also need to see the negative. So when you spend so much time online, there is negativity that comes with your health and also your sleep pattern. You find that if your child is engaging a lot on their screens, their sleep pattern is really affected, and also their health. I normally wear glasses because my eyes have an issue of seeing for a while after when I'm engaging with my screen a lot. And your children can actually start having negative impacts in terms of their health because of the amount of screen time. There are also things that develop depending on what they're watching. They may start having their speech changes. You find that depending on what they're watching, they either become aggressive, they start using vulgar language. Those are things that we need to see and see how we can balance on the positives and the negatives of our children on the screens. And so I want to start introducing you to practical tools which will allow you to see how you can manage. And the Family Link by Google is something that I personally use, and it allows me as a parent who has children below the age of 13 to have my children have an email address, but it is pinned to my email, which means that if my child is downloading an app, I have to consent yes or no for them to upload that app. If my child wants to play a game, I'm monitoring what games they're playing. If my child goes or I am not around, I'm not near my child, I'm able to monitor their location using this app. I'm also able to lock their screen time. So I can set time for them to be online from a certain time and then cut their screen time or even log them off their devices. And this is something that I know parents will be very interested in, because it helps you even with the conversations. What your children are watching, whom they are talking to, the kind of downloads they're putting. And then also as a parent, you're able to blacklist the sites that you do not want your children to access. And so I want you to be able to just look at this video that I'm going to play and see how it will help you have these conversations with your children.
Hi, it's Caroline from Mark, and today we're going to walk through how to set up Google Family Link. The first step you'll want to take is to create a Gmail account for your child. If your child already has a Gmail account, feel free to skip to the next section. From the Google homepage, click Gmail, then click Create Account. Next, enter in your child's first and last name, create a username and a password, and click Next. Then Google will ask you for some additional information, such as your child's birthday and gender. Because your child is under the age of 13, Google will prompt you to link their email account to your account. Next, Google will walk you through the process of creating a Family Link account. Verify that your child's information is correct, as well as review the parental consent information and click Next. Now you're ready to set up Google Family Link on your child's Android device. Download Google Family Link from the Google Play Store and launch the app. After your child signs in, Google will prompt them to hand the device to you so that you can continue the setup. Sign in using your email address and password. See terms and conditions and click I agree. Next, Google will prompt you to install Google Family Link Manager to complete setup. Next, Google will display all the apps installed on your child's device. If you would like to do so, you may turn them off at this time. Finally, to complete setup, follow the prompts to activate Profile Manager, review Google's terms and conditions, and click Accept. Now the devices are connected and you can begin setting up the parental controls. To set up Google Family Link on your own device, simply install it from the App Store, launch the app, and sign in. Google Family Link gives you the ability to check the location of your child's device. On the main screen of the app, scroll down to Location and click Set Up. Please note that the location of your child's device may take a few hours to show up in the app. To set up time limits for your child to use their device, scroll down to Screen Time and click Set Up. From here, you can choose how much time your child is allowed to spend on their device each day. You have the ability to make these settings consistent across weekdays and weekends. You also have the ability to force the child's device to turn off at night in order for them to get sleep. Again, you have the ability to make these settings consistent across school nights and weekend nights. To manage or block apps, click Manage Settings and then click Android Apps. You will then see a list of all the apps installed on your child's device, and you are able to click into the app and block it. To unblock the app, simply click into the Blocked Apps tab, app that you would like to unblock. Child's device may take a few hours to show up in the app. To set up time limits for your child to use their device, scroll down to Screen Time and click Set Up. From here, you can choose how much time your child is allowed to spend on their device each day. You have the ability to make these settings consistent across weekdays and weekends. You also have the ability to force the child's device to turn off at night in order for them to get sleep. Again, you have the ability to make these settings consistent across school nights and weekend nights. To manage or block apps, click Manage Settings and then click Android Apps. You will then see a list of all the apps installed on your child's device, and you are able to click into the app and block it. To unblock the app, simply click into the Blocked Apps tab, click the app that you would like to unblock, and toggle the green button. To control the kind of content your child can view and download in the Google Play Store, click Manage Settings, then click Controls on Google Play. Now you can choose whether or not your child must request approval to download apps and games, movies, TV shows, books, and music. You may also choose what kind of content is appropriate for your child based on their age. This will ensure that your child cannot access mature material when searching through the Google Play Store. To prevent your child from making changes to the parental control settings you put in place, scroll to the bottom of the screen, find your child's device, and click Settings. There are several parental control settings that you can ensure you are the only one that can make updates to. Choose one of the settings and then click Only Parents to ensure that you are the only one that can make changes to these settings. To protect your child while they are surfing the internet, click Manage Settings on the main screen. Next, click Filters on Google Chrome. You may also add sites that your child is approved to visit, as well as sites that you would like to block. From here, you may ask Google to try to block mature content, as well as manage what sites your child can visit. In addition to setting parental controls on your child's device, the next safety layer parents should strongly consider is a monitoring solution to assess the content their kids encounter and produce online. By monitoring text messages, YouTube, emails, and more than 24 different social networks, For potential safety concerns such as cyberbullying, self-harm, violence, sexual predators, and more, BARC allows busy parents to rest easier knowing that their kids are better protected from.
So I think from this video, one of the things that I learned, because I have the family link for my children who are under the age of 13, one of the things is that I'm able to manage the websites that they are watching, the websites that they are viewing, and the kind of content that comes into their screens. And I'm also able to be the only person to change those settings. Again, I think I keep reminding parents that our children are more tech savvy than we are. And so sometimes you may put settings, and if you don't make sure that the settings that you have put, you're the owner who can edit them, your children will go and reverse everything that you have set. So at least here you have the opportunity as a parent to be able to set the filters and also manage. You be the only person who has control over the devices. And also one other thing that I really love about this is that I'm able to remotely shut down my children if I feel like they've been on the machine for too long, which is such an amazing thing, because I know that is something that very many parents also struggle with when they're, looking at ways of raising children. And so I hope that that video has really, really helped you. And even as we look at other ways, we need to be able to start discussing screen time with our children. And as I normally go through this conversation, I keep asking parents, does technology ever prevent you from being present? Because very many of us, sometimes we are on our gadgets, and then we don't realize that the fact that we are on our gadgets, we are not really available for our children. And if you've ever found yourself telling your child, just give me 5 minutes, and that 5 minutes grows to 10 minutes, or it continues growing to more time, we need to be able to start seeing how we can help ourselves manage our own technology, and then help our children also to manage theirs, so that at least we are in the same space, and we are also able to help our children manage their own technology. So that is one thing that I really find profound when we are doing the parenting thing. And also, how does the focus, how does screen time affect your focus, and why? Within the space of parenting, you realize if you have so much access to the screen, your attention really goes down. And so if it can affect you as an adult, imagine what it is doing to your child. You find that your children, if they're on the screen, they're quiet, they're composed, they're in their best behavior. Once you take the screen away, they start becoming uncontrollable. That is the side effect of having screens a lot, and then it also really affects their focus, such that when you want them to do a certain activity that would probably take them around 30 minutes, they're not able, because the screen time has really diminished their attention span. And then also we need to start reflecting on ways to control our screen time, because too much of everything is not good. And I keep insisting, even as parents, that technology is an amazing thing. However, we need to use it in moderation, so that at least it does not rob us of physical and interactive and deliberate conversations with the people in our ecosystem. Now, we have something that our children love to do. We also love to do it, and it is sharing. We love sharing. We love talking. We are human beings. And when we are not physically engaged, we want to continue getting engaged digitally. And right now, as we are going through a pandemic season, one of the ways that we can engage with people is by sharing. And so one of the things that is very fundamental, even as we are going through this parenting class, is to look at what we are sharing, if it is necessary, if it is kind, if it is something that is productive and helpful. And so as we are even looking at this programming, and we're looking at the ways that we can help our children, we need to be able to start defining what digital footprint means for them and for ourselves as well. And before we even get to the place where I'm asking you about, the most popular social platform, even the website that your kids like to access, I need to be able to remind all of us that your digital footprint is not about what you post alone. What other people post about you, it contributes towards your digital footprint. And that is something our children need to really understand. What I'm posting will contribute to my footprint, but what other people are also posting about me is the same. It still makes an account to my footprint. And so we need as parents to start looking at the places where our children are spending the most time. I keep saying that if you don't know, this is your opportune time to get educated. If you don't know there are certain social media platforms that are available to our children, this is the opportune time to start learning. And so I would like you to share, if you do know, what are the most popular social media platforms for your children. And if you don't know, it is okay. You can go home, ask them, and you will be able to interact and see. Some of them you might know, some of them you don't know, and that is good, because the reason why you're here is so that you can get educated and you can get engaged. One of the things I've realized, I think over the last 1 month, that I've been aggressively teaching different types of children from different backgrounds and different exposures, is that we really have so many social media platforms that we actually don't know exist. For the gamers, I know I learned about Discord from the gaming community, because it's a site that enables different gamers to be on one platform and chat with each other and, you know, exchange information about the kind of games there are. I know platforms that have dedicated a whole link to online gaming, to online tournaments, and games that you can record and upload. And so there are different things that we need to be able to see how to engage, because once your child is behind a screen, you might really not know what they're doing. But it's important to know the kind of social applications that they have and where they are spending a lot of their time when they're behind a screen. And so let us engage into seeing how we can do this. And as we are setting this, we need to be able to, as we are doing the issue of ground rules and setting rules, one of the things that we need to do always is to set expectations. Because you have to put a rule knowing that I am anticipating something out of the rule that I am placing. And also, what are the consequences behind the kind of expectations and the kind of rules you're placing? Because one of the things that I've realized with children, they always ask the question, why? Why are you placing this? Why are you doing this? And so we need to always make sure that we are answering their why satisfactorily, so that they don't go to the internet and start looking for the gaps. We also need to be able to bring them to the table, and as we are setting these rules, ask for their contributions. Because I keep telling parents, the way we are using technology is certainly not the way our children are using. We use technology and probably sometimes social media platforms in a very different way than our children are, because of the age, because of also the dispensation we are in, and we are different people. So we need to be able to start having clear expectations, be very, very, very deliberate around them, and always answer the question why. But even as you're setting these rules, bring your children on the table so that they actually get to help you understand why they go to the platforms that they visit. So one of the things that we'll do is that we need to teach them about their own digital footprint. And because we are bringing up children who have different special needs, we need to explain the word footprint. What does it mean? And one of the things that I've realized really helps is helping a child realize if they've ever been on a beach or on a sandy platform, when they step, it leaves a mark, right? It will leave a mark, and within time, either the wind or water blows that mark away. However, when we are explaining to them how that concept is different from the online footprint, on the internet, I keep reminding them time and time again that the internet never forgets. And so just that the way if they're on a sandy place, they would step and within time that is washed away, the things that they post on the internet, they may get lost on the face value, but they are somewhere on a server. So they need to start understanding that concept. So people will go online, they will type their names, and they'll get to see so many things that they have posted over time. And one of the things that we need to start teaching them is that the content that they post online, they have great repercussions for them in the future, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, even 20, because the internet never forgets. So you realize that our children, we need to help them right now to understand the kind of content and the weight of the content they post online. So as parents, we first need to look at ourselves, introspect, and try and start seeing what are the kind of things that I posted online, what do they say about me as a person, and also how do they contribute towards other people's footprint. So that when you're teaching your children, you can even give yourself as an example. However, there are very many examples that we can also teach them online according to the footprint that they're sharing. There's a boy called Anthony Madu in Nigeria, who I think last month, put up a video on Instagram, and it was of himself just dancing and enjoying, and it had been raining, so the floor was really wet and the ambience was really good. He posted himself dancing, and within 72 hours, because yes, within 72 hours, he started getting feedback on his social media platform, and different people actually were commenting. But the thing that happened with this, because this child was just showcasing something, he started getting opportunities in terms of scholarships. And one very profound institution, the Jacqueline Kennedy School of Music in New York, called this guy, and he was given an opportunity to go and learn more about the art of music, the art of dancing, and very many other programs. They were giving him an opportunity. So from just somebody who was showcasing their talent, who was showcasing an interest in dancing, he has now a bigger problem, which is of choosing where to go. And I think that is a good problem to have, even at this particular time. And one of the things that I would love parents to take out of this is, if your child has a specific talent, please do not be scared of showing it. However small you think it is, there's someone out there who will be impressed. There's also someone out there who is looking and seeing, oh, that is a special child, that is a child with a special need, and they're able to do that. I can use this video to encourage my children to take a step of courage to do other things. And I think I love what Sylvia does in this regard, in terms of just showcasing what the different milestones her children are meeting, even in terms of speech, in terms of therapy. And that is something amazing, because out of what she shares, very many people are able to get encouraged, and very many people are able to see hope. So you can use your platform in terms of your footprint to share hope, to show encouragement, and also to showcase talent. But as we are at it, even when we are leaving our children onto these platforms, we first need to help them minimize social comparisons. There are very many people, even us, who go online and we start comparing each other. I will see someone's platform, they're really doing well, they're really thriving, and I want to be like them, and I forget who I am. We need to always show our children, by modeling from ourselves, to accept where we are and to learn to love what we do. Because the truth is, we are all different, and what I have is not necessarily what another person has. So we need to be able to celebrate what we have and to showcase who we are. So we can help them minimize comparison and then show their true selves out there, because other people also need you to be your authentic self. We need to teach them about oversharing. And sometimes I keep saying that when we overshare, we tend to give out too much information that is not necessary for the online public. And even as we are doing this, one of the things that I really, really insist on, as parents, we need to tell our children the difference between personal information and then private information, so that as they're sharing, they know that I can share in this realm and I don't need to share private information. Because the people who pretend not to be who they are online, they target children because they're vulnerable and they easily trust, and they're able to share information about themselves that is not necessarily supposed to be out there. An example is their private phone numbers, their email addresses, where they live, where they go to school. Those things are private. Not everybody on the social media public needs to know those things. And we need to be able to tell our children, this is where the buck stops. As they get into the world of social media, we need to be able to also tell them what we expect as parents of the kind of content that should be out there about our families. And so that takes you to sit down, first put the expectations down, and then see how reasonable they are, and then transfer these conversations to our children by having roundtable conversations, so that they get to know, I love that I can share about different things, but when I'm taking photos, can I take them with a decency in terms of not showing too many things about where I am. For instance, the children who go without, the teenagers who can go either to a mall to watch a movie and they're live streaming. What are the dangers of them live streaming while they're there, as opposed to sharing photos when they're already out of the movie theater? So helping them understand that their security is also pegged on what they share. This is a conversation that is very critical that we need to have with our children. And then also, let us have very deliberate conversations also around positivity. I think one of the things that I feel sad is that as Kenyans, we are celebrated for being bullies online, and especially on KOT. That is not something to celebrate, because we have mighty voices. However, sometimes people are seeing us as bullies. And so we need to be able to start showing our children that, yes, they have freedom of speech. Yes, they can share their voices and they air their views. But where does it border from being disrespectful to being positive online? Because there's a way you can share your views, but also make sure that you're respectful while you're at it and you're trying to bring out the positivity out of the content. So we need, even as ourselves, helping our children understand that creating positive content is very, very, very critical for them as they are on the social media platform. And then, of course, within this space, we need to be able to pin our family values with everything that we are doing. And while you're at it, try and start asking yourselves who you are and why the behaviors that you really, really take to heart are important to you. And I'll just give you examples of who you are in terms of, interrogating yourselves to look at your value system. Things like honesty, things like creativity, things like timeliness, people who are sticklers for rules, people who are sticklers for time. How can we make sure that the things and the behaviors that we hold dear are translated to the online space? And once you already have those conversations in place, be very clear about how you expect them to act while they're online. I find that we need to start breaking the narrative of pretending we are always happy online, whereas behind the screen things are not as merry. We need to be able to have our children be their authentic selves. And so being very clear around what they post means they need to post things that are correct. They need to post things that are true. And then as parents, as guardians, we need to validate and appreciate and affirm our children every single day. And one of the things that I've realized affirmation does is that it helps our children know who they are, and knowing that the family unit really rallies behind them and they're loved by the people who tell them they're loved every day. Because sometimes they will go online and they're looking for affirmation from strangers. They're looking for affirmation from people they do not know. It gives them a very short high and it starts corrupting their self-esteem. So we need to be very clear when they're posting things online, what is behind their post, so that they're not looking for the affirmations in the wrong places. So which means, as a parent, start affirming your child. Tell them that they're loved every single morning. Tell them that they're special every single morning. Tell them that they're unique and they're beautiful in their own way. They bring to the world their beautiful and unique talents. And when they keep hearing that from home, from people who love them, believe you me, when they're being bullied online, those things will not get into their head, because at the end of the day, my mom who loves me, my dad who loves me, people who are around me who love me, they affirm me every single day. So they need to start being clear around what they're posting and what their acts are all about. And then we need to talk to our children about harassment. And I know we are very sensitive about online harassment, which could vary in the kind of things that they're doing. However, there is someone who's being bullied, but there's someone who's perpetrating the bullying. And even the person who is perpetrating the bully could be my child, could be your child. And so we need to start looking, if it is my child who's perpetrating bullying online or some sort of harassment online, what are they trying to make the world feel? Because there's something your child is communicating in every action that they do. So as parents, we need to start looking, how does the offline environment look like if my child is trying to bully other people online? What is the gap? Fill it up and make sure that it is not being transmitted to other people. Because I know as parents, we all keep saying that I don't want my child to be bullied online, but the person who is bullying is someone else's child as well. And so also for our own children who are being harassed online, how can they manage that harassment? And when it comes to special needs children, how are we also helping them understand that they have rights? Because all children under the earth, they have rights. And so if your child has any special need and they're being harassed on different platforms, what are the kind of ways that they can raise those complaints? How can they be helped? And those are things that we need as parents to start evaluating ourselves, to knowing how the law can help us, and then also to see how we can champion change. Because people harass other people also because of lack of knowledge. Because sometimes we might look at people who might not seem to have a problem because it might not be showing on their physical outlook, but then we don't care around what is happening inside them. And at this moment, maybe I would like to add, to just give an example of the late Chadwick Boseman, who has been fighting cancer for 4 years. And he was actually being bullied. Sometime this year, after the lockdown, he was being bullied online for losing weight. People were bullying him because of his physical appearance, because they could see he was literally losing weight. But they didn't care what was happening within him. And we started celebrating him way after he is gone. And I think we need as parents, even as the general public, to start realizing that everybody is unique and everybody is fighting a battle of their own. Before we start posting things that may hurt others, we need to realize that the person reading these comments is a human being just like you. So that we can start employing empathy and emotional intelligence. And we can change the whole narrative around online bullying. And then, of course, always keep talking about the power of positivity. Positive messages go a very long way. And even as we are celebrating what our children can do in different platforms, we need to keep pushing for positive messages, because you never know whose life you're touching and where it can actually take them. So we need to be able to do that. Then, of course, as parents, there is what we can do for our children in terms of discovering content. And so how can we push for family-friendly content? I would like to just switch my screen shortly so that I can show you a few applications that I use for pre-screening, and also content that is applicable for your children. So just kindly engage me for a minute. Just a quick second. So there are different applications that I personally use to help my children with family-friendly content, and I hope I can get that very quickly. I don't know if I have closed my link, so just bear with me for a short while, please. I think I accidentally closed my link.
No problem. Take your time.
I'm sorry. Fine. Yeah, I think I accidentally closed my link and I'd opened quite a number of applications.
No.
So
I feel like I just went to a master class.
So is there any questions coming across? Yes.
Yes.
You're feeling like you've gone to a master class.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my God. You know, when you lose yourself, like,
much.
It's not too much. It's just valuable information that you cannot get easily. That things that we don't think about subconsciously, like it's the things you're saying, and I'm like, oh my God, Jesus Christ, you know, especially during this Corona time when we are all fully dependent on the digital platform, but then we also get caught up in our own space. Because I'm thinking right now, when is the last time I checked the apps? When was the last time I controlled? You know, like you set a rule, but do we follow through? Because that's one of the other things that we find difficult, and especially for us as special needs parents who have also typical children, because you have your typical child, you have a special child, balancing yourself in both worlds can drive you crazy. That is it. There is no sugarcoating of it. It can drive you crazy. And worse still if you're a single parent, because it gets to that point where you feel like, you know what, I've done what I can, you know, the others you can just let them slide. But I'm just trying to think of how much exposure we have actually had our children go through, you know. It feels like an injustice, if that's anything to go by. But then it also feels like it's a new JD altogether. Like, yes, we appreciate the digital platform, but like you said, it's a good thing, it's a bad thing, depending on how you use it. But damn, okay, we have a lot of questions. Can I just go right into them and then now, or you want to finish? Have you found the one you were looking for?
Yes. So let me just finish so that we can answer all the questions together. So I wanted first to show the kind of applications that, friendly applications that parents with special needs can adopt and they can use.
That is.
Yeah. So let me share my screen at this point. And one of the applications I love using is Common Sense Media, because it helps me even pre-screen. So you can see at my URL, there is commonsensemedia.org, and then there is education for best apps and tools for kids with, now I will specifically use autism because that is what I picked. but there are very different, many different special needs applications. So you can actually see if some of them are paid, some of them are free. And like, let's look at this free one here. Yeah. So if I open it, it has games, and then it teaches children to use empathy, which I think is a very, very exciting thing. I love when even we can show our children who have ability to create content, how to create content for special needs children, because that is an amazing, amazing thing. So before you even dig into it, it tells you which age, the grades that you can apply if your children are within a certain age. So grade 2 to grade 6. So if you have children of that space, you can use. And then it tells you how can I teach with this tool. So it gives you content. If you're a parent or an educator, so you have actually ways that you can use this application to see how you can teach. And then here it actually says what it is. So it is an online-based game that follows the story of Fox. So of course, even as you're teaching, you're playing. Because one of the things I've realized with children, they engage more by interacting. So if they're able to play and learn at the same time, it is the best way of teaching that you can do, because they get to interact with the game and they get to feel that I'm in a space where I can play as well. So you get to play, you get to tell a story, then it teaches you, gives you step by step how you can use the platform to teach. Is this good for learning? It also gives you the advantages of using this particular tool for learning. So you have a range of products and websites that you can use. And then also there is the rating. How many people have used it? What kind of experience have they had? But one of the most important thing I love about this, that there's a whole support group here, where if you're a parent and you get into this space, you meet other parents with either different or similar needs, and you're able to exchange. Because maybe someone used a different way of teaching, and you're able to pick that tool and you're able to use to teach, because there's a community of support with people who have the same needs as yours. So I think parents need to start looking at different ways they can engage and see how all these tools they have can help them in terms of raising children. And then also for the child at the end of the day, because it is gamified, they get to have fun. And what is the problem with children learning as they're having fun, right? It is amazing. So we can use this common sense media, and I will share these notes with you so that you can share with your parents as well, to see how with the different kind of special needs you can engage children. So this is a very, very amazing tool. And then also at the same breath, I want to be able to show, again, let me now switch to another screen where I want to show how when your children are getting into the entertainment space, where you can go as well to pre-screen the content that they're using. And I know I share content for Fridays where parents can, different applications in terms of social media sites, books, videos and cartoons your children can watch. But before we do all that work of posting, we come here, we look for family-friendly content, and then we pre-screen. So I would like to show parents what you can do in terms of when you see your child is raging over a game that has just been launched and you really want to buy that game for them, you can come here to Common Sense Media, Apps and Games. And then we look for the apps and games that they want to play. And actually, there is special needs apps. Yeah, there's a category for special needs. So you come to it, let's open and see what we can choose from it. Then we can pre-screen, and then I'll get to show you how you can make sure that whatever games your children are playing are aligned to your values. So we have quite a number, and you will see from this page here, if you want games for reading, for communication, social interaction, organization, reading, motor skills, it is differentiated in that way. So let us just pick communication, for instance. Because this is now where the masterclass is coming in, Sylvia, where you're thinking, I have so much to my disposal and I've not been using it. Yes? So
exactly. I'm just wondering, it's stressful.
I know. The good thing is it's even broken down if you're a beginner, if you're intermediate, or you're advanced. How amazing is that? So you have so many games here, so many that if you have Apple or you have Android, you can actually use. You can see the list is so endless. You can choose different kind of games to engage with. You first play them, because one of the things that I keep insisting, before you give a child a game to play, please use it so that you can see the dynamics of the game, then before you hand it down to your child. So you have very many. And this is a place where the apps and the games you want to engage your child in, for whatever reason, You can come under the apps and games up here, then come to special needs, and it will bring you to this page, and you have so many things to look across. However, when you're choosing things like family movies, and I know maybe there are times where probably on a Friday evening, people are engaging in movies, you come here and look for a movie. So for instance, if you have children above 13, like now this is a movie I like utilizing because teenagers have been telling me they're watching it a lot. It is called Kissing Booth. Kissing Booth is even trending on Netflix in the Kenyan section. So as a parent, if you come here and your child tells you, so we need to watch Kissing Booth, and probably you have a 13, 14-year-old, but you also have children below 10. One of the things that you will see face value is the age limit. Yes. So you can already see here that Kissing Booth 2, because there's Kissing Booth 1 and Kissing Booth 2, it's already for anybody 13 plus. So if you have a mixed dynamic of children above 13 and some below 13, this is an opportunity for you to tell the whole family that this is not a family movie because we have children below the age of 13. And so as a parent, you're able to make decisions to know that if you were to watch a certain movie that has a higher age limitation, you need to be sensitive to the children who are younger in the family. So you have to look for a movie that is age appropriate for everybody in the family. But just above that, there's something else that you need to start looking at. What are the positive elements of the movie that you're watching? And it gives you the positive elements. So even if you have a child who cannot really read, but you can explain to them the signs, they can already see they have 5 dots here, and it says 2 dots out of 5 have positive message. And for the things that they really, really need to look out for, I will point them out, like sex. If you have not already started having the conversation of sex and nudity to your children, if they just come here and they can't read all this language, they will see 3 out of 5 means it is heavy on sex, on the sexual content. And they're able to say, I don't think this is a movie I can watch. And so they start making their boundaries along content in that way. Look at language. If you see that it has above 2, even above 1, in terms of their age, they will see that 3 out of 5, it is very heavy on curse language, because here it actually tells you as a parent that there's occasional swearing and profanity, and it is blurring. So it is SIIT. Already as a parent, you know what that is. But maybe your child doesn't know and you've not already had a conversation around it. So when they see 3 out of 5, they're like, apana, here I can't watch. And then there is violence as well, because again, we don't want our children to watch violent things because it also triggers aggressiveness in their behavior. So you look at the violence and then see whether it is something they can watch or not. So even as a parent who has a special needs child, if they really, really can't read, show them the audios of, the visuals of, this is plus your age, this is below your age. How can you tell that this is not for you to watch, or something that is generally for you to watch? There's also something we need to look out for always, which is drugs and alcohol. Drinking, drugs, and smoking. So if something has a propensity of celebrating alcohol and drugs, our children do not need to be exposed to certain kind of content. And so for me, I use these particular tools to help me manage the kind of content. But the victory of this is, if you can teach your children to use this if you're not around, so they know if I'm going to watch a movie, a cartoon, I'm going to do an app, I have to put it through this channel so that I pre-screen it to see if it is good for me or not. That is actually a very, very good milestone, because then you're teaching them the independence to guide, to choose from what is good and what is wrong, and also where to put boundaries. Because the truth is, we are not always with our children, and it is difficult for us to keep monitoring what they're doing at every single minute. So I hope you can utilize Common Sense Media, because it will really, really, really help you. So I'll just switch now back to my presentation. Yes, I'll switch back to my presentation so that I can continue showing you family-friendly content. And so, good. So even as we're doing this, we need to start asking ourselves, what kind of content are children exposed to when they're online? And if you're able to just think loudly, even quietly, or even write it down, you will realize that there's so many things that are beyond you. Because we've already seen there is drugs and alcohol. We have seen this profane language. They're exposed to mature content, and you see that is the ranges of pornography and stuff like that. They're also exposed to things that like radical things. Like children are being groomed right now and are being trained on radicalization. but very subtly, because when you're allowing your children to play things like Grand Theft Auto, for instance, I'm not maligning the game, but I'm saying because it's a very combat game. What is that combat doing to your child? And how are the people who get into the chat options with your child telling them about that being combat? And I think we've had stories of children who've been radicalized from playing video games, where in the States, I know in Texas, there's a time where children went into a school and they started shooting. And when they were being questioned, they said that they were doing this because they were watching a lot of, they were playing a lot of these radical combat games. And that is what taught them how to use these guns and stuff like that. So you need to also start realizing the kind of games we are letting our children play can be counterproductive for them if they were to get actually real weaponry on their hands. It can really be counterproductive. So please, parents, before you engage your children into gaming, play those games beforehand, before you give them to your children. And so I want to introduce you to an amazing game that I stumbled upon. Google launched this thing in Africa, Be Internet Awesome. And then there's a game called Interland. If you play it, you will love it, even as a parent. But one of the things that I've realized when I was playing it with my children is that we were able to have conversations about online safety from gaming. And so like we are going through, and I hope I can, Sylvia, can I please demonstrate this game? Am I able to? Or I can demonstrate it at the end, it's okay. But one of the things I realized, okay.
The floor is yours.
Okay.
However, at least you'll give us like a feel of it as you're doing it. Then you utatupa hamu.
Okay, I will. Okay, cool. I will demonstrate it. So one of the things I realized when we were playing this game, because it has different kind of challenges, we were able to start having conversations with my children as we were playing. So how can I protect my passwords? How can I make sure that I don't get into danger as we are playing and jumping obstacles? So these obstacles, we put them in real life and we start asking ourselves, so what kind of obstacles would this be? How can I maneuver them? And we're having our conversations as we are playing. And so that was really, really exciting for us especially. So I'll demonstrate this towards the end. And then of course, there are certain things that we need to be able to know that different players have brought around applications for their platforms. The age entrance is 13. However, like YouTube, they have YouTube for Kids, which is it has parental approved content. You can set time when your child can be on the, then you can review the history of where your children have been when they're using the application. This is an amazing thing. Facebook also launched Messenger Kids in June in Africa. So that means that you can have your children on Facebook, but you have an account that is mirrored to yours. You can monitor whom they're playing, whom they're talking to, the kind of games they're playing, the kind of content that they're sharing, and then also monitor their screen time. And I think that is a blessing because we are also in a dispensation where our children will still get access to these social media platforms even before their age. So if we're able to get them to the kid-friendly apps before 13, I think that is a plus for every parent. And then, so how can we also see as we are doing this, we are protecting our children's privacy? And even now looking again at this question, I had to put it twice here because we need to look at the most popular platforms that our children are engaging in. And so as we are doing this, one of the conversations we always have to talk to our children about is stranger danger. Because we said before that there are people who are online and pretending to be who they are not. And these are the people who are grooming our children. And for me, it is very sad because even in the dispensation of this pandemic, child trafficking has not reduced, it has increased. And child trafficking is increasing because our children now have access to technology, and the time they're on their screens is extended. So we need to start looking at how do we engage with people online, and we are not supposed to talk to strangers. And one perfect way to do that is, as a parent, if your child is playing any game, look at the friends they have. Whom are they playing with? Do they know everybody on their friend list? And if they don't, have them delete. Occasionally, every other 2 days or 3 days, I let my children take me to their Roblox account and I look at all their friends. There's one time, the first time he only knew 3 people. So his friend list dropped from 20 to 2. Because I kept telling him, every time you're playing with people you do not know, there's a propensity of you sharing private information. And for him, he might not be doing it maliciously, it's because he's trusting easy and he's vulnerable. So he would share information about himself and the family without his knowledge, and it could pose as a security risk. So please, parents, today, if your child has any game, go sit down with them and start looking at their friend list. And if they don't know the people who are on that friend list, block all of them. Another thing that you can do in terms of stranger danger, again, go to those video games that they're playing and look at the chat option. If it is enabled, disable it. Because one of the things I also tell my children is, if you're playing with people you know, you should not have an issue having a conversation with them while you're playing. But when you have the chat option, strangers have the propensity to start chatting you. You stop playing and you get into the chat option where your parents cannot see, where other players cannot see, and the conversation is a rabbit hole. And so if there's a chat, the games that your children are playing have chat options, please block those chat options, because your children should not feel ashamed talking to themselves because they know each other. And that's how we start helping them manage this grooming danger, because strangers, you never know what a stranger has in mind for your child. And then, of course, teach them about identity fraud. And one of the things that I keep insisting, again, I will go back to the gaming, because social media, we are able to try and see how we can protect our security. With gaming, let your children use avatars. And if you don't know what an avatar is, it is the alias of themselves. So if they use an avatar and their friends know my avatar is let me look for a name, emoji123. I'm able to tell all my friends that if you see I have sent you a friend request, my name is emoji123, that is who I am. And so it helps so that other people also don't start knowing who your children are, because sometimes also putting your full names, putting your email addresses, it also forms a risk in terms of security. People can steal your identity, go commit a crime, and you're left sorting out that issue. And again, strangers, you do not know what a stranger online has in mind for your child. And then, of course, in that line, we need to start also helping them learn about bullying, and there are people who are stalking them and people who want to do harmful things to them, because online harassment is very different. There are people who just want to troll, they say bad things about you and leave. There are those ones who are bullying you, and we have seen the extent at which bullying can actually take people. People have committed suicide because of online bullying. So these are conversations as a parent or a guardian you have to be very deliberate in having, because our children fall into these risky places because they do not know. So it is your duty to let them know that these things actually can happen to them when they're online. And then go to the phones again, or the particular medias that they're using, the particular gadgets they're using. Try and start looking at all the social media platforms they have. Don't get tired, because this is your job. You cannot get tired. Go to the YouTube. Sylvia, you cannot get tired. This is your job now. Go to the YouTube.
Like, Lord have mercy on me.
Go to the YouTube. Watch TV. Go to the YouTube. Check the privacy settings they have put. If their accounts are on public, because these are kids and they're not selling anything, they're there to consume more than create. Their accounts should be private. Go to their Facebook pages, and you know the way. I know our children are not on Facebook. They are probably now on Instagram, Snapchat, and all those. But if you have any on Facebook, the same way when you post you make a comment, you can make it public for your friends only or me alone. I think those are things that you can put across. So first check the people who are seeing my profile. Are they seeing my email account and my phone number? That is something to check. And then when I post things up, who is able to see that content? And when they're slowly getting into the social media arena, I think as parents, we need to start also looking at them talking to people they know. Because I know with COVID, they want to socialize, but they cannot keep socializing with people they don't know. And the same way we have conversations around vetting friends and getting to know who is a good person with genuine intentions or not, it should cut across social media. And I think even when they go to the online space, it has to be more deliberate, because they're meeting people from across the world, people who have different religions, different mindsets. And so they need to start knowing where to put their boundaries and what to say yes and no to and why. So I think you have to go to each site and check. And this means if you're not on TikTok, get conversant with it. You might not want to use it, but if your child is on TikTok, don't say I am not on TikTok. Just get onto the platform, get to see if the kind of security they have put is safe for them or not. And then just keep moving on. Then keep having conversations around what they post, because we have talked about their digital footprint. So it is your job right now, after this, as you're answering the question of which is your favorite platform, go into that platform they tell you and start looking. And of course, there are different ways you can do that. On YouTube, there is also putting restricted mode, which if you're using a phone, at the settings, if you go to your settings at the very bottom of the settings, there is putting on and off the restricted mode, which is something that even us, we need to do because we give our children our phones a lot. And when they go on YouTube, they need to be protected from mature content. And then letting them know that there are things they should not watch, but it is your duty to block them altogether, because sometimes if you have young children, they may not know what to do. Then we have a few tips and resources. I'm almost winding up. And there are things that even you can use to see how you can keep engaging yourself and educating yourself in terms of content. So Google has google.safety, which is a free site where you can go get tips for your family in terms of helping your children be confident, be explorers, and opportunities that are there online. And I think one of the things that I love with me exposing my children to different platforms is that when I give them something to look forward to, I don't get worried about the kind of things they might stumble upon, because I can whitelist certain sites, and I know that if they're here, they're learning how to code. If they're on another site, they're learning how to do ballet, the kind of interest that they have. I'm able to go online and look for those sites and whitelist them for them, so that when they're engaging, I know, okay, so that one is coding, that one is listening to music, and it is good music, and certain things like that. So you can use safety.google to get to even learn more things. And then the internet awesome is something that I said I will just demonstrate in a few minutes, this Interland. But also there's something for educators. If you're someone who is into education for special needs, even the other children, you need to be able to get this family guide, because it will help you with conversations, healthy habits, and also things that you can look forward to. And one also very important thing, as your children grow, they grow into different milestones. So maybe your child today is 9 and they like watching songs and cartoons on YouTube. When they get to maybe 12 or 13, their interests change. And even you have to start changing as they're growing to learn that as they're exposed to certain things, when they're getting growing up and they're interacting more with other people, their interests will change. So what are the kind of habits you want to instill in your child? Even as their interests are changing online, you're adopting and you're very quick with them. And this one also comes with discipline. Because sometimes I feel like we might put our discipline today, and in 2025, we are still using the same set of discipline. That will not work. And it will not work with all the children. You have to start looking at your children individually. So you say, for you, it is 2 hours for screen time. If you break the screen time, this is how I do it in my house. My daughter has 2 hours of screen time. And when she surpasses that screen time by an hour, I cut it from the next day's screen time, because that is the repercussion that we have. Because the conversation is, you have a timer, I'm teaching how to look at time, 2 hours, cut off. But should you continue, because I will get the feedback from your screen, I will just tell you tomorrow you had 2 hours, but I'm cutting the 1 hour that you spent today. And that is something that we have discussed as a family. And my son also has different sets of rules. So as they're growing into certain milestones, we need to look at the habits and the kind of rules that we are setting for them, how we can change them and see what is working very well and continue with it. So be very flexible as a parent to see, and this digital well-being will really, really help you to look at some of those things. And then as you're engaging with your children, whenever something happens, and this is especially when they're meeting or accessing things that are inappropriate. Let me use pornography as an example. One of the things you need to do is talk early. When it happens, talk. But if you're annoyed, calm down first. But don't let 48 hours pass without engaging that conversation. Talk early with your children and keep talking often. One mistake that as parents we do, we get into a conversation. I found you watching porn. Do you know how pornography is bad? Do you know what is going through your head? And you start engaging with guns blazing. So that is your child first shuts down.
Your child fired. Okay.
Cannot. Your child will shut down. They will start listening to your noise because you're making noise, and they're not listening to anything you're saying. So first understand that they watch pornography. Then start even asking them these kind of questions. Where did you get this link from? If it's someone who sent them or they're the ones who typed it, how did they get to where they are? What do they understand by what they watched? One of the other mistakes I've found parents doing is they find their children watching porn and they panic. But they don't know what the child understood when they watched that. when your children start using common sense media a lot, one of the things you'll realize, if there is anything to do with kissing or hugging and stuff like that, especially within their age, their bracket of content, they will call it sex. That happened to me. I was teaching one time, my son came and told me, Mommy, the movie we are watching has sex. So I panicked. And then I asked him, what do you mean sex? These people are kissing and kissing and kissing and kissing and kissing. So I relaxed because my understanding of sex is not his understanding of sex. So anytime some conversation comes to you, first brief and get to understand what your child understood when they watched whatever they watched. And then start having regular conversations, yeah? Start explaining to them the different aspects, the different notions, and especially when it comes to things like pornography and when you're talking to teenagers, helping them understand that sex does not happen the way they see it on the screens is also a conversation you have to have. However, your children will be exposed to unhealthy content even before their age. So be prepared to have uncomfortable conversations with your children. And when you're having those conversations, choose the right time. When you find them in the thick of doing something wrong, I'd rather you first close the machines, but don't start punishing them in anger. Go away, go breathe, and then come when you're a bit calm-minded and start having a conversation around what they were doing and the repercussions. Because once you start putting guidelines and screen rules in place, you're able to refer and say, you know, when we were sitting and we had a family meeting, we put these things in place. And what did we say? You can watch this at this time. These are the kind of contents you can't watch. And then you're talking from a place where they're also understanding. And then one of the most important things is you're also discussing the consequences with them. So if they were probably misbehaving and watching content or doing something that is wrong, you ask them, so what are the consequences of this? They already know. So when you're punishing them, guess what? They saw this punishment coming. And one of the things that will help you when your children understand the consequences is when you instill those consequences, they will hardly do that thing again. Hardly. Because they know, Mommy put this rule, I broke it, and this is what happened. And for me, this cuts across everything. I'll give you an example of something simple as food in my house. When we are eating, I stopped serving my children according to my thinking of their hunger. So I call them and I tell them, please let me know how much food will satisfy you. So I put for everybody according to what they want. And when they eat and then they tell me they're full, it's okay. Whatever is left on the plate is what they will eat for the next meal because they were there when I was serving them. And they know if I don't finish my lunch, I will eat it for snack. If I don't eat it for snack, I will eat it for dinner. So I think one time my daughter thought I was really kidding when I was putting these rules in place. And one time I served them for lunch, they didn't finish. I told them to eat it for snack, they refused. So at dinner time, I served my husband fresh food that I'd cooked and myself, and I served them what they ate for lunch. Believe you me, from that day, they always eat enough. They always serve enough for their feeling. And when they've not had enough food, they ask for more. And that is a rule that now is in their head because I actually went through with the consequences. So when you're choosing the things to punish your children in, choose the right time to share that with them. But also be open to getting feedback from them anyway. But also be open up to sharing with them too. One of the things I've realized as I'm talking to children is that we don't share vulnerability as parents. And I'll give you an example. Even Sylvia said, sometimes the consistency of you applying those rules can also fail on us. And so say maybe you're having a meal and the meal table is a tech-free zone, but there's something urgent you need to do and you find yourself eating and you're on the phone. You're already breaking a house rule and your children can see that. You also need to also show them at some point you're vulnerable to making mistakes because you're also a human being, so that they're also never beating themselves so much when they fail. Because when they fail, they need to come to you to correct, because that's the whole idea. The whole idea of parenting is when the children fail, they come to you and you also have to show them that you're vulnerable. I keep giving an example of how our parents, when we were growing up, all our parents were number one in school. All of them. For some reason, I have never had a parent who was not number one in school. Then who was number last? I don't get it. So when we keep showing our children we are perfect and they are not, we are not being open to sharing with them how we can be vulnerable in life. And we need to start striking that balance. And then create a very safe space for yourself. When you want to reprimand your child for anything, make sure that you are with that child alone. If it means going with them for a walk, if it means taking them to another room to have a discussion with them, do that. Avoid shouting at them near their friends or within other members of the family. Avoid calling out their mistakes when other people are there, because you're embarrassing them and they're feeling shame. And one of the things that it is doing, it is counterproductive what you're trying to do. So just call them out and tell them, you know what, I've realized that you did something wrong. Can we have this discussion? Take them to a silent place, choose the right time, and that means you're also choosing the right ambience, and have that discussion with that child at that moment by themselves. They feel trustworthy and they feel like you're also respecting their privacy, and you're respecting them by not exposing their mistake to other people. So that is something that I think as parents we really, really need to embrace. And we need to do that openly. And because one of the things that I've realized within the journey of parenting is you need your children to come to you when they're facing challenges, even when they're not facing challenges, because you have their best interest at heart. When you leave those gaps, they go over the internet and you never know who is telling them what, because you cannot control that conversation. So let us try as much as possible to see how we can help our children learn from the things that we are doing. So Sylvia, I will allow you to give me questions as I move to doing Interland. As I'm getting ready for Interland, please share your questions. Let them please come.
I'm just saying, oh wow, I'm even trying to get back to where we started, you know, but it's quite interesting. Wow, that was a major, all those words, masterclass. And then it's just highlighting, you know, the way you feel like, oh, how have I been doing this? I need to change this. I need to change this, which I believe is actually the essence of why we do this every day. And it's to help us and open our eyes. You know, sometimes you're so engrossed in something that you don't see, you know, like that blind spot we're always talking about. You always forget that it exists in actual sense. So that was quite awesome. Now on now gaming, the gaming space, like if you've seen that your child is very good at something and you'd like for them to actually nurture that, do you count the amount of time you give them to indulge in like that game as part of screen time? Or is this just now because like set aside like a special hobby?
I'm listening, please continue.
Okay, so you want me to give you all the questions?
Yes.
All
Just
of them.
read a few so that,
right.
yeah, maybe 2 or 3 as I get my, yeah.
Okay. All right. Then there is the implementation of the rules and that we're going to set as a family. I think you've handled that just a few minutes ago. And then the family link you shared, is it something that can be used? Like if I've already set an email account for my child, can I implement and will it work? Yeah, so that is one. And then does it work only on Google, or like the things or anything that is on that device after you put the app? Will it be just Google related what do you call it, devices or even apps and stuff? Or is it everything that's in that? For an instance, like my son has a phone, he has a tablet, and he has a laptop, okay, because he's a teenager. So do I have to install it on all of them, or as in individually, or is it something that will cut across because his email account is linked on it, then to control all of them, you know? Yeah.
Okay, so I think one of the things, when you do the family link, it protects all apps. You're first able to see the apps that are already existing in that phone when you're installing the family link. And then progressively, whatever app your child goes to Google Play Store to install. So you're able to see that and you're able to monitor. So it's not only Google related applications, it is all apps. And one of the things that is good as a parental control is you say yes to that application being installed, or you cancel it from your parental appliance. So that is a plus. So you can use it, and it will help you with generally all platforms. And it actually does work. I want you to just go and try it today with maybe one child. If you already have an existing email account, which is, because when the video already starts, it tells you if you already have an existing account, just log into that account first. So then you can start mirroring it together. So one of the things you have to do in the onset is to download the family link app on your phone. And then if your child has an existing email, so you log into that email. And then it tells you if now your child doesn't have an email, you can first proceed by creating for them an email so that you can link the two. So it works both ways. If your child doesn't have an email, you'll go through the process of creating a new email, then connect it to yours. But if they already have, once you go to the family link, you will log in their email already so that you can now connect the two. So I hope that answers. There was something about gaming. Please repeat the question around gaming.
You see, the way we say we need to nurture the talents of our children. Eva, do you notice, like, my son is pretty cool and good in Minecraft. I have tried to get interest, but I don't. But I appreciate the fact that he's the top across, you know, but now I know I need to pay attention and try and learn it. Now, do I count that as part of screen time, or do I nurture that? As you know, there is professional gamers right now. So do we count it as screen time with everything else, or do we give them that as a separate time because we want to nurture that skill? That's the question. I hope it's clearer now.
Okay. Yes, it is. So when you're doing, there's something I've been trying to implement, especially after COVID happened, because we have extended time on the screen for children. So one of the things first you need to realize is we need to separate screen time. So there's screen time for education, and then there's screen time for entertainment. So the education part will be dependent on how much either the school institution or even as the parent, because most of us are also homeschooling our children. So how much time do I want to engage my children in learning? So I set that as screen time for learning. And then entertainment, then so that you can start looking at where to put certain breaks. So I'll give you an example. Children get online at 9, they stop at around 10, they take a 1 hour break, then they go back until 12:30. After that, it is lunch, and then they don't go back to the screens until probably 4 o'clock. So within that time, from lunchtime to around 4, they're having a non-screen engagement. They need to have something that has got no screen engagement at all. Then now, if you want to introduce them to screen time for entertainment, depending on the age of your child, so you need to understand if your child is, you're giving your child screen time for 2 hours, ask them how they want to spend that 2 hours. So if they're going to use an hour for gaming, let them use an hour for gaming. If they want to use the other hour for watching a movie or being on social media, define that. So that also they get to know, this is my space, my 2 hours for screen time for entertainment, and this is how I'm going to use it. So if you want your child to get nurtured into the gaming, you have to try and see where you're going to place it. Is it going to be screen time for education because they're trying to nurture a skill, which I think that is where you're supposed to put it. Screen time for education because they're nurturing a skill. Because this other part, it is for them to just relax and socialize, because it could be watching a movie, it could be, engaging on social media. So I think the answer to that would be have that screen time for nurturing, even though it is gaming, for education, because that's how I put my when my children are doing chess online, I put it as screen time for education. When they are coding, I put it as screen time for education. But when they're playing games with their friends, we sit down and say, today you're going to be having 1.5 hours. So you're going to use 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and that's it. And then also there's something I forgot to mention as I was doing the training with children, and it doesn't matter what special need your child has, they need to always have 1 hour before they sleep off screens. So if you sleep at 8, make sure by 7 o'clock all screens are off, all screens. Engage in something physical so that even as they're going to bed, the glare of the screen has reduced and they're able to have some quality sleep. So try that. If your children go to sleep at 9, by 8 o'clock as a parent, put all screens off, but also let them know that this is why we are doing this. So we are putting the screens off so that we can all start shutting down from the glare of the screen. We can start having, getting ready for the evening. So at least they get to know at a certain time before we go to sleep, we need to have the screens off. And that has really, really worked for me, especially when we have always been in school, but when we took that holiday in between August for our children to rest, I realized that they were always waking up late, and it is because every time we were going to sleep like around 9, we stopped the movies at like 8:50 or 8:55, and they go to sleep tired. They wake up tired. So we needed to start getting back to the school routine, which I realized when we are back into the school routine, 1 hour before they go to sleep, all screens are off. So I think it's something also you can introduce as part of screen time management in your home, and also adding places like the bedroom as a tech-free zone for people who have portable devices. Because when your children go to their rooms with their devices, you never know whether they're playing or sleeping, and you can't control what they're doing. So that is it's supposed to be a tech-free zone. Mkienda kulala, no screen, no devices in the bedroom. at all. And that really helps.
Trust you me, I have 3 pages of notes now. So the other question is, what age is appropriate to actually introduce gadgets to our children, you know, and which gadgets, like tablets, phones? Because I see, and then in the same line of thought, you know, there are places where you go and you see, if I want to shut my child up for me to do something else, I'll be like, here's a phone, go play a game. You know, what effects does that have? Because I find that when I hang around other parents who do that, when I don't do that with my kids, I don't allow my kids to touch. It's my phone. But then now when they're seeing all other kids have phones, now it has become like, I feel like the devil's, you know, the bad mother who does not allow the kids to play on their phone. But then what is the other ones? And then I think this other one for different activities and screen timing and breaks, that one you have answered. And then the social media, when we come to social media, please pegged also onto the age and which social media is appropriate for what age. Could you just guide us a bit on that? That's what is...
Okay. So question 1, and I will tie it to question 2.
Yes.
What is the appropriate age to give your children's phones? I think before COVID, I had an answer for this, and for me it was 13, depending on how you use technology in your home, because everybody has their way of using technology. And the reason why I say that is because even pre-COVID, you would have a parent who is really traveling a lot, and part of the reason why they introduce gadgets is so that they can have an open line of communication. So that's a reason. But COVID came, and when I kept saying 13, I had to buy a computer for my 6-year-old. But one of the things that has helped me, and allow me to just share this because I think it is important, that I was sharing this in a class I was doing. This is something that I charge, but just allow me to share it anyway.
Please feel free.
Yes, I have a contract. Now that's how I manage my children. I have a contract that they have to abide to. Believe me, my 6-year-old has used her fingerprint thumb to sign the contract because that's the only way she can sign. So the contract looks like this, and I hope you can see it. Let me enlarge it a bit. Let me enlarge it. Okay, let me just enlarge it so that it's full screen. Yes. So I used to say 13 because I'm hoping by the time my last born is 6, my first born is turning 9. I'm hoping by the time my children are getting to certain milestones, I will have had very deliberate conversations with them. However, when I'm buying them devices, first you have to answer 2 questions. What is the device being used for? And who does that device belong to? And as a parent that is for them, and you've said, as in you're giving them this device, you're saying, by the way, this phone is yours. That phone is theirs, and they will do what they want because it's the same way you buy your child a shoe and you're not going to share the shoe with them. So one of the things I realized, when you tell a child this is yours, they start feeling like you can't be on my machine and I've not given you permission, which is, it's their right. You know, they keep saying they have rights and all things. And it's something that they can actually debate. So when you're doing the phone, whether you're doing it even at 13 or even earlier, first answer the question of why are you buying the machine or the particular gadget, and then how will it be used? So that you can also get to know if it is for education or something and there's another device that can be co-shared in the house, isn't it easier for them to co-share as opposed to you buying? Because there's so many aspects you have to answer as you get buying children devices. So when I was buying my 6-year-old a laptop for herself because of school, I had to have a conversation with her. This one I'd already done with my son because my son has done the class for children and online safety. And he was using his machine for chess because he's doing a lot of online chess tournaments. And also he was coding. But one thing I told them that these machines are family gadgets, which means if mommy's machine is not working or it is busy, I will get into your machine and use the machine because it's a family device, just like the TV is a family device. So they have to have that in mind. It is not mine, it is ours. So that they don't start taking that ownership and saying that you can't be on my machine, but you have your own machines. You know the way children fight all the time over things. So that is one way of making it very clear. Then this device contract, it helps me in different ways. Where are we going to use the computer or the gadget? When are we going to use the gadgets and for how long? Already it is showing where in terms of zone, in terms of the physical zoning, when in terms of screen time, because that is a conversation you must have. And then also how long also to mitigate the timing when they're on the machines. And so it takes you through the process of creating tech-free zones, family spaces, and how they're going to engage with technology even within their daily interactions. So when you say that, for instance, you can't go to the toilet with your gadget and your child has a phone, you see that also applies to them. If that is a tech-free zone in your house, it applies to them because they have access to a portable gadget. When you say you cannot go to the bedrooms after hours with your portable devices, that applies to them because they have portable devices. So this actually helps because you have to customize it according to the rules of your house. But one of the most interesting things is the check-in. So when you're buying them this device as a parent, you're the guardian, you're still the authority in the house. How are you going to be checking in on their gadgets? So you have to have an understanding. And one thing I realized, sometimes parents, we also fail when we decide we are grabbing their phones and we want to check now. Because maybe you've realized, my child is giggling, anaongea na nani online. You take it immediately and you start checking whom they're chatting with. That's actually violation and not of trust or anything. You wouldn't want the same thing to be done to you. I'm sure when you're giggling with whoever you're chatting with online, you wouldn't want someone to just come grab your phone and then they start looking at what you're doing. You feel violated. Yes. So you need to start understanding how to check in. And our children have become very bright in that they know how to clear history. They do. Don't cheat yourself that they don't know. They will go to their browsers, clear history. And right now, there's artificial intelligence where they don't need to keep typing what they are checking. They will speak to the machine. So if they want to watch unhealthy content, they speak to the machine. So as a parent, already that is, you're defeated in the sense that you can't check what your children were watching because you can't see the history of AI. So you need to be able to see how you will be checking in and also make sure that they understand that the things that they're watching and the things that are engaging with, they affect them. And if your parent is not happy to see what you're engaging, you probably shouldn't be doing it anyway. So having that safe environment where you can discuss all these unhealthy and healthy things, it is part of the check-in process. So you need to be able to guide them through that. And then I need to go to the second. So there is, yes. So there is the privacy, because we talked about how you're going to make sure that their privacy is set. This is where it comes in. We have decided we're going to create strong passwords, for instance. We are going to make sure that our emails are not broadcasted to the public and our phone numbers. Those things have to be put within the contract. And then people who have bought their children phones, who is taking care of it? So your child today is angry, they smash the phone on the wall, it breaks the screen. Whose responsibility is that? It needs to be put in the contract. When you give them a set of, probably you tell them within the week, I'm giving you airtime of 100 bob. Ikiisha Wednesday, tiataka mpaka next Monday apewe allowance yake. Those are the kind of things we need to be able to have in terms of also them factoring their own personal responsibility towards the gadgets they have been given. And then, of course, the communication and responsibility of our online communication, those are things you have to set here. The reason why I work with this contract is there are already guidelines, which I want when we are sharing, we are having this discussion, my children are plugging in. Then we put the answers now where the spaces are. Because one of the things that happens, you have to put the consequences. So if this happens, this is the consequence. And because they really want to plug in and they have signed, when you're punishing your child at any time, they already know why they're being punished because they have violated even the contract. And so this one is a good thing for parents, even if you're giving your child gadgets within whatever space of age, they need to have a guideline in terms of the contract to change. Because here it will show the communication, you will show the tech-free zones, and then they consent. So I think this is something that probably, Sylvia, I can share it with you. Yes. Try and implement it and you can share it. I use it in class and I charge for my classes, but I feel that this is something I need to keep sharing with people so that they can manage their homes and the gadgets within their homes. So this is something that really, really helps me, and I hope it answers the question of when can we introduce. It's not a matter of the timing, it's a matter of why. Why are you introducing a certain gadget at this time? I know for me in my house, there's a huge fight about PS. My child wants a PS because everybody in the compound has a PS. And sometimes he comes and tells me, I'm the only child in this estate who's not playing Roblox. And one of the questions I ask him is, how is that different? There are very many things you do that your fellow friends don't do. And we go online, we went and checked it's not Roblox, it's actually Fortnite. We went online, we Googled Fortnite, we pre-screened it. First, we looked, it is for age 13 and above. And I asked him, are all the children who are playing this game 13 and above? So they're already violating the set age for the people here. And when you start talking to them about values, remember some of the values, like personally we have, is honesty. So you can't decide you're playing games of 13 and above and you're 9. You're not of age. So where is integrity? Where does integrity come in? Where does honesty as a value come in? And you need to tie in all these things with the values that you create with your children so that they get to understand and know, oh, okay, so even when I go outside and people are pressuring me, this is what I'll do. Because the truth is, there are other games they're playing. They probably want to play the fancy games that maybe are not good for them. So that's how you manage that conversation. Now, the ecosystem of the child, coming to your second question, the ecosystem of the child does not only belong to you. So you have the parent as the guardian, and then you have your house manager who probably has a smartphone, yes. And then outside your child's ecosystem, there are the friends outside, there is the school, there is the virtual community which you might belong to or not, depending on if your children have entered you into their virtual community. Then there's the government. So we need to start looking at all these people, what kind of influence do they have on the children? And then specifically going into maybe the first step where your house manager is involved. When you are orienting your house manager, for instance, you've told your children today, you can't watch this, you can't watch this, you can't be on this social media site, and then you've left the house, you've gone. But your house manager has a smartphone, your child has an Instagram account. She's not supposed to have an Instagram account, but the username and the password is in the head. They go and ask the nanny, hi, can I have your phone and use ABCD? Already that is a channel of access. They go outside, and other children within the estate, they have gadgets and they have internet. So your child will get exposed to that. You need to start looking at the ecosystem of your child and putting your values within the ecosystem. Your friends, I keep telling people that I vet, and I use the word vetting. I vet my children's parents, my children's friends' parents, because one of the things that I need to know is if my children are exposed to your children outside, what values are they exchanging? And if they do not align, that is how I start teaching my children that you cannot have friends everywhere. I mean, you might like someone, but their values do not align with ours, and this is how we put our boundaries. So we need to start also having that conversation and getting to know, if Sylvia and I are friends and I want to expose my children to Sylvia's children, what are the kind of boundaries do I put? And this brings me even to what you said. There are places you will go and you realize that people are shutting their children down by using gadgets, specifically the salons. I don't know if you have managed to see how children they yell at the salon, and when they're given a phone, they keep quiet. They don't even twitch at pain because the gadget is numbing them. The downfall of this is that your children become dependent on that gadget in terms of soothing them. We also have seen like parents who start, when you're weaning your child off the boob, and then when they're being given solid foods, they have to have a screen. And they get acquainted to that in such a way that when you're not around, or that gadget is not around, your child literally cannot eat, because you have culturalized them into the sense that they have to eat with a gadget in front of them. And that has become their normal. We need to start having, as I said, tech-free zones. And as a parent, you have to stand your ground. Most of the things that parents do in terms of even telling their children, I cannot give you my phone because my phone is my phone, those things are very unpopular. But let your children always understand that there are rules to be followed, and there are times that we don't necessarily have to do what everybody else is doing. And succumbing to pressure, because that pressure starts there. I'm giving you your phone. They go online and they're being pressured to watch porn, and they don't know how to put their boundaries. That's how they're not strict on the rules, and they're not strict on their boundaries, because they keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and they're not farming what they believe. So if it starts with the phone, it is very unpopular and it is very difficult. But if you have agreed that in certain places, I'm not going to babysit you or soothe you with technology, stand your ground on that. Slowly but surely, it becomes something that is in their head, and they get to appreciate what you're doing for them. So I hope that really answered your question, because one of the things I realized a friend of mine shared with me is her child, I think, was around 9 years old. Now she's not 9, but then she got access to pornography from the salon, because the person who is plaiting your child's hair, first, you do not know what they watch. They might not have your particular value system, and you cannot control their phone. But you have left them with your child, and they've given your child the phone so that it can soothe them. Whatever content is in that phone you have got no control over. So when your child is being exposed to this thing, whom do you blame at that point? Do you blame yourself? Do you blame the saloonist? Because the saloonist here wants to do the child's hair and move on, and they wanted to be soothed to the phone. So we need to start also looking at creating very strong expectations and boundaries within the people who have access to your child. And those are very unpopular conversations, but you must have them anyway. Over to you. I want to demonstrate the internet. So ready when you are.
Yes, now you're good to go. You can do that.
Okay, cool. All right. I will share my screen. This is a very exciting game. I hope you get to play it and enjoy it while you're doing it. So, I hope you can hear. It's very loud. On my ear, it's very loud.
We can hear it.
So, it has different challenges. It just needs to load.
Then as it's loading, I'd mentioned on the chat that anyone who wants the contracts, you please drop in your mail so that we can mail it to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It needs to start now. It's coming. It's coming. Okay, we need to start. I'm waiting for it to start. I know it does this a bit.
So is it very simple, like any age child can do it, or does it have like an age limit? Because sometimes I look at the complexity and simplicities of games when you would like when I'm trying to engage my younger children. So on top of the autism challenges of coordination, fine motor skills, and trying to teach them, because I know it can also work for like when you're doing educational stuff. But when I want him to move in this direction, when my son is left-handed, he's doing the opposite direction and it's not meant for left-handed. That's where my frustrations come, and I'm just like, oh, let's do without this thing, you know. So
I know what you mean.
Exactly. So there's some.
It's actually really, really good with in terms of even motor skills, because it's about the arrow keys, because you're using the arrow keys a lot. And then also helping them differentiate what you're saying, left, right, up, down. Yeah, so it has quite a bit of that. I don't know why it is not loading, but I will give you a chance to just try it out, because it's supposed to open a game so that we jump into it. So I don't know why it is not doing that for me right now. It's really letting me down. I don't know.
So, but the story,
I don't know why it is not doing that.
The 4 lands and whatnot, like generally, what is the scope? What is the gist of the game? You said it's
so you learn digital. So you learn digital literacy and online safety when you're playing. In terms of, it has quests. So different quests where you're going and exploring the online world. In terms of safety, in terms of privacy. So the child is able to play different quests. And I think it has actually loaded somewhere.
There you go.
It takes you into different quests, how you can make sure your emails are not being hacked, how you can learn how to be safe when you're playing games. So you learn digital literacy and online safety skills while you're learning with them, because they go through different quests. So just try it. I think it's taking a while to load, because I don't know why it is doing that. It normally loads just almost immediately. But now it is taking me through the different processes. I don't know why. But just take time to go through. It has 4 quests where online safety, digital literacy, privacy and security, and then now just interaction in terms of how people should be playing together online. So it is called Interland. Try it today. You will really, really love it after this, if you are able to play it with your children. I'll just copy the link on the chat. Yeah. I'm sorry, I don't know why it did not load. Sorry for that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think for me, that would be, yeah. I'm so happy that I was able to take you through this session. I'm so glad that I'm seeing some feedback online, but I'll get to read it. But thank you so much for the feedback. For those who are saying it was an amazing session, thank you so much. Asanteni sana.
Yes, Yes, we have. It was very informative. LM compares it to something she had earlier, and then today with her own kids, and she realized it was only a drop in the ocean. So that's why I was telling you this was a serious masterclass. Then there is a comment about great presentation. KOT has caused a lot of emotional torture. We need to start advocacy on positivity. And I would as well add that the perceivable bullies could as well be put to psychological torture, as they find the online platform as the only space to vent. So such webinars are really timely. So I believe we did a good job. Looking at time, normally we do 1.5 hours. We are at 2 hours, 5 minutes, meaning this was quite something that we really needed to learn. I would have done 2 parts, but I thought, you know, for us, we assume, maybe you'll just give us 3 rules and whatnot. But I feel so empowered, educated, like equipped to go to actually handle it. You know, most of the time we were just told, make sure you have blocks you check. No one tells you when, how to do it and whatnot. So we really, really appreciate your support, EVELYN. And as you all had, that is something that she usually charges for. So you've gotten it for free. So yay, thank you very much. And we will hope that we will be able to at least apply to our special children and even our other children, because this is not even limiting only to special needs. I've seen this is something that actually more my typical child needs more than my, my special children, but it also like embraces us and it prepares us mentally for what is to come. And there is only one thing I think we didn't touch on: social media platforms. We've done gaming, Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot. Is that really a space that our children should be in? Because for an incident, I only allowed Instagram. And actually, I felt proud when you talked about using avatars, because I saw my son has created his own avatar across all platforms he's not using. So at least I'm like, Fuchs, thank you, Jesus, for that. So I am saved in one side. But then we had agreed, but although we didn't do a contract, but I had clearly stated, you not download. I can get from Amazon anything he downloads, I get an email. But then this other side on the computer, I didn't know how to go about it because that was linked to the gadget only. So at least now I know how to get it across all of them. And on top of that was that like I saw a Facebook account and I freaked out because I'm thinking, you know, Facebook is a very dangerous space. And I'm like, yes, you're a teenager. I know everyone is on it, but I don't want you on it. And we agreed, you have to tell me first. And I've seen what you've said, like we are more reactive as parents because, you know, we said it, you went against it, but now I'll see how we'll have a different conversation about it and see how best to go around it. And I really, really, truly appreciate. And I'd like to say thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, either on Facebook or even here on Zoom. For those who have joined us, thank you very much. And we do this every Saturday, 2 to 3:30. Today we did it at 4. No apologies for that because yes, it was worth the while. And thank you, EVELYN. I know you're a very, very busy person, but you made the time to actually sit and teach us through all of this. And we really appreciate. For those who are asking about getting the content, we shall always upload it on our social media page. That is, first of all, we load it on our YouTube, and then we share the link across all the WhatsApp groups, and we share it also on our Facebook pages. If you do not know our Facebook page, we have a group called Andy Speaks for Special Needs Persons, in brackets SNP. I will also release the same on my personal, that is Sylvia Moraa Mochabo. If you want to follow discussions that we have, you can follow us on Twitter, that is Andy Speaks 4. And on Instagram, it's just simply Andy Speaks. And you will learn more because apart from NeuroDigest here every Saturday, we always have other engagements and policy discussions and know-how on what is going on in the disability space, and also advocacy on those other social media pages. So feel free to follow us. And if you have any questions, if there's a topic you feel that we need to touch on, you can directly message me. Next week, we shall be here, same time, same place. We shall be discussing music therapy. What does music have to do with it when it comes to learning, calming, intellect? And we shall be having 2 awesome ladies who will be able to guide us and also show us how to make use of it to ensure that our children thrive and grow through that. And the week after that, we shall be talking about one of the new early interventions, that is RDI, Relationship Development Intervention. So Plan your diaries every Saturday, 2 p.m. here on NeuroDigest, courtesy of Andy Speaks. I've been your host, Sylvia Mochabo, and our awesome interpreter, as always, Maureen Maitha, and our guest of honor for today, that was EVELYN KASINA of EVELYN. So thank you very much. Do have a fabulous weekend. Say hi to your families, hug your babies, and don't forget, throughout the week, take time to take care of you, because you cannot give from an empty cup, as we always say. So thank you, all of you, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
All right, bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.